Well, 20 minutes later, the front door's opening, and Mother's back. She's got a scraped up face, you know, a little bloody. She had tripped over a step she hadn't seen at the first house. She quickly cleaned herself up in 5 minutes, and back out the door she went, and she really enjoyed house hunting. And then there was another time when there was couples bridge that we were all a part of. And we arrived to pick Mother and Dad up and noticed that Mother had a very injured shin. And I said, "You gotta go to the ER." And she said, "No way. Was she gonna do that?" She wanted to do the bridge and that we would stop at the ER after, and that's exactly what we did at 11 o'clock at night. So she was really something when it came to her things she enjoyed. Once the boxes were unpacked, Mom, being the social person that she was, joined various clubs with the newcomers of Scottsdale, which we had been a part of. She had picked wine tasting, potluck, movie group, bridge, and later on she joined, of all things, the gourmet club. That was such a shocker. This was a woman who had always stated that she was considering carpeting the oven. So I just didn't get it. She pleaded with me to join, which I did for one time. It took me 5 hours to prepare the assigned dish. This club rotated homes for hosting, and when it came to, with the host, they decided what the main dish was. They typed up all the recipes, sent them out to those that were doing side dishes. So Mother picked the month of April. This was her first and her last time to host. She served pigs in a blanket as a main course. I was not there because I already quit. And her thinking was that due to it being tax month, people would probably be thin on finances. I believe her true thought was, "I don't enjoy cooking, but I enjoy people. Who cares what we eat?" For their 60th wedding anniversary in 2008, they chose to take a cruise, and they invited us to join them. As it so happened, the cruise director, whoops, I should have taken this out, had organized a newlywed game one night. I was so excited, and I got them entered into it. And so the newlywed game began, and the first question was, "Where were you when you had your first kiss?" So of course the women were set aside and they were answering the questions, and then the men, they came back together and they answered it perfectly. They knew where they were, the outfits they were wearing, what car they were in, and what they had to eat. It was a very tender moment for me. Celebrating Kevin's 21st and my daughter's 30th, we decided we were going to do a little getaway to Las Vegas, and Claudia and Doug, of course, were there. And we found a dinner music show at the Riviera Hotel. It was a real bargain, $35 a person. That got Mother excited. My heart sank a little as we walked into the place. It was very run down, needed updating, had a particular odor. But I was so thankful that we did not miss this moment. The location of the seating was great. We were at a nice long table, and it wasn't too far from the center stage. And after dinner, the music began, and there was a baby grand piano on the stage, and an aide bringing out Ray Charles to sing Georgia. Then after he commenced his singing, came Neil Diamond. At that moment, Mother was in a heavenly realm where she exclaimed with her arms in the air, "This is exactly," like she's doing this is exactly what I like. This is exactly what I wanted. And Claudia and I are looking at each other, and I said, "I'm not telling her. I don't have the heart." So when the last group arrived on stage, it was the Beatles. Then she knew the gig was up. She realized the truth. She still enjoyed every second of the evening, and we did too through her. So there's another cute story that Mother loved to shop. If anybody knows her, she loved shopping. And I would say browsing. as told by her longtime friend Donna, she and a couple of gals, this is when they were in Palm Desert, stopped at a mall, and their first store they stopped at was Nordstrom's. And I think this friend had shopped with Mother before, and Mom wanted to look at the shoe department. So everybody scurried to the departments they wanted to go to, and after some time went by, they came back down to collect Mother, and they see piles of shoe boxes all around Mother, and she, and the guy that was helping her, young guy, sweaty, flushed, was rushing to the back of the store again, get another box of shoes, and Mother picked up her purse as she saw her friends were waiting and said, I feel kind of bad that I didn't buy any shoes. And her friend Donna said, honey, you did that kid the biggest favor of his life. He thought he was going into retail, but he's going back to college. Reflecting back on my teen years in Palos Verdes, I remember Mother sewing and painting and playing bridge with her friends. She was active in the Palos Verdes Art Association. She had so many wonderful lady friends, and I really enjoyed being around them. I was very comfortable with them. Well, her best friend Bonnie for 30 years and Mom would get together some afternoons during the week, and sometimes I joined them. And I got to witness a comedy show that just, oh, it was incredible. They would banter back and forth, talking about kids and family and friends, and they were so hilarious. It made my sides hurt. What a friendship they had in each other, and what a gift to witness. And there's some of Bonnie's artwork over there towards the end of the table. She was quite the painter, but she just did it for fun. She had 4 children to raise herself. Mom wasn't much on giving deep philosophical advice to me regarding growing up into adulthood. One time, though, she gave me a Cliff Notes version of dating. She said, if you only eat apples and never tried pears, how do you know you wouldn't prefer pears? Presenting that, I regretted that I didn't take that simple statement more to heart. One other lifelong tip on presenting oneself in public was never leave home with vacant lips. In her mid-90s, if I arrived to her room for a visit or a task, if I didn't have my lips painted, I heard about it immediately. In closing, I'd like to say with gratitude, Mother taught me the value of $1, hard work, the importance of having a good social network, but above all, the unadulterated joy of laughter in causing others to do the same, and not taking myself too seriously. In closing, I found this old Hebrew proverb that I found fitting. Say not in grief that Lou, Mom, is no more, but in thankfulness that she was. Thank you.
Through the Depression of World War II, but her father, a decade later, died after his business partner embezzled money out of their company. Once I learned this about my mother's background, it answered many questions as to how she managed us as kids growing up. Our soggy chopped olive sandwiches that we ate for months because Mother got a great deal on chopped olives. The funky brown and red orthopedic shoes that we wore in middle school because Mother got a great deal on the shoes and the soles would last forever. All the weird gifts we got, Mother made gift giving an art form. Yes. She had her own price tag gun. Who do you know owns their own price tag gun? So she would buy these gently used items in garage sales and put them in magnificent boxes like buttons with the price tag on. And most people take the price tag on. And then you get this well-presented gift and you think it's something special and you open it up and go, Not again. The architect that Mother used for their home went bankrupt, believe it or not, after that he built our house and all those estates.
Put him out of business.
Mother was a very shrewd businesswoman. There are so many wonderful mother stories, but the one I will always treasure, if I can get through it, happened when Mom and Dad visited us in Plano, Texas. We lived there for 23 years. They attended a big church called Prestonwood Baptist Church with 20,000 members. And Mother wanted to go, Dad didn't, so Mother joined us at church that day and sat beside me. And at the end of every service, the pastor of the church invites people to come forward and confess that they are Christians and surrender their lives to the Heavenly Father. Well, I looked at Mother, she wanted to go down there. And so here at the ripe old age of 78 years old, Mother and I go down to the front to the invitation, met up with our Sunday school teacher, Ross Robinson. And he asked Mother a few questions, one being, who do you say is your Lord and Savior? Mother very clearly stated, Jesus Christ. So when I see Mother today, I'm not going to look at you. When I picture Mother today, I see her in heaven with beautiful, thick, flowing hair, a very colorful outfit, and very stylish, size 8.5 triple narrow shoes. Her day in heaven would start a little later. She likes to sleep in. And it would give her time to go to the her theater group, where there she would be joined with her father and mother, Uncle Art, Aunt Ellie, and Uncle Herb, and many others that she's known in the past. And they would rehearse a play, a comedy play, and Art and Mother would debate about who should be the producer or not. Next, she would go to lunch. And after lunch, she would attend an art class instructed by Monet, where Picasso and Renoir and all of her favorite impressionistic artists would be there joining her. She would have just enough time for a brief nap before she runs a little late to her happy hour, where she sips on her Manhattan and socializes with all long-lost family and friends that have since passed. After a hearty pasta dinner and a piece of mud pie, ice cream mud pie that she eats all to herself, she joins her BFF, Bonnie Coven, best friend forever, at the comedy club, where she and Bonnie discuss the antics of their day. At the end of the night, Mother has just enough time to smile down on us and our families, to check in on how we're doing and send encouraging thoughts of how we can do better. We love you, Mom, and pray that all this is coming true for you in your new surroundings. Save a place for us at your dinner table for a time we can enjoy your humor and your fun-loving nature together.
A lot of history in this room. Family and friends, all of us together. Births and deaths. We're here to memorialize and celebrate our matriarch. There are so many funny stories about Mother that will be shared here today, to be sure. We celebrate her quick wit, her love of dogs, of which there were many, gardening, brothers and wives, family gatherings, friends, games, winning, attention, Manhattans, juju gels, jokes, rhymes, shopping, a good deal, and sewing. I remember her smiling eyes, her booming voice, her touch. They all move me. She liked to hold and study my hands. She would say, "Your hands are just like my mother's." And I could see in an instant how it took her back to tender moments in her childhood, which may seem inconsequential, but She was not one to show vulnerability. It moved me. My high school youth group chose a few seniors to participate in Youth Sunday, and I was one of them. With much preparation and angst, I did so. Mother and Dad came to church that day. I remember this day so clearly. I wore a drop-waisted yellow polyester dress with a swing skirt my mother had made. She dressed me that morning. I stepped up to the pulpit and I began. Midway through, I locked on Mother's moist eyes and felt her vulnerability, her love, and most of all, her pride. It touched me then and now. She valued originality, visible in her art, watercolors, acrylics, and tiles, all original, and almost all for sale. Mother left for me a small bronze mother and child statue. She told me it reminded me of her and of Emily. We found the receipt later, tucked away in papers, and on it she wrote, "Bronze mother and child, original, no copies. Bought at an art show for Cynthia. Got it end of day. Asking $900, paid $379 on card."
So good.
I cherish that receipt as much as the statue. And I smile every time I see it now. She loved a deal and would return anything that wasn't. Her last few years, she was an incomplete version of herself, living through traumatic times, surviving COVID at the age of 97, and worst of all, being so very socially isolated. However, she still had a zest for living and life, never forgetting who her children were. She loved it when we would call her. The nurses would set her up in the kitchen next to the toasters, and we would talk in simple word games and rhymes. I might say, "The dog ate," and she would explain, "A frog," with a giggle. And then I would say, "On a log," and so it went. She has a star, and is a star in her own right. And so, we gather here as Magi's, wise ones who have come to pay homage. Let loving hearts enthrone her.
Thank you, daughters, for sharing some wonderful stories about your mom. There's some of which I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
Very, very touching. Okay, now you get to talk and hear from the in-laws. The outlaws, as she called us. All right, I'm Terry, married to Pam, as I said before. That's why I don't like the microphones. All right, let's talk about Lou Seal, Lou Nash, one of a kind, that's for sure. She had the kind of personality that was hard to forget. She could be funny without even trying. Pam and I always had friends that would tell us her mom was so much fun to be around. For me personally, I spent a lot of time with both parents of the girls, George and Lou, especially the last 17 years when they moved to Arizona. We had a lot of great family times together, vacations, social events, dinners, game nights, winning, and just hanging out. It's no secret one of Lou's passions was shopping. You've already heard about that. Any kind of shopping. And as I was thinking about at least one story I wanted to share with you, and there are many, I thought I'd share my Lou Nash shopping experience. How many here have been shopping with Lou? Okay, you got a pretty good idea then. I never went shopping with her for clothes or shoes, but I took her to the grocery store almost every week for 2 years when she was still living in independent living and George had moved to skilled nursing after he fell and broke his hip. She was in her mid-90s at the time and could still get around without much help, although very slowly. I didn't mind taking her to the grocery store, since Pam and I only lived about 10 minutes away, and I passed right by Lou's apartment facility every Monday on my way home from golf. So this is how her and I worked it out. Our schedule was I'd pick her up, I'd take her to the store, I'd drop her off, and go visit George. I gave her an hour. I'd be back to pick you up in an hour, Lou. Now, if you get tired, or you're through shopping by the time I get back, there's a lounge area that you can sit and rest and wait for me. Well, she was never there when I got back. It seemed like most of the time when she was shopping, there was always one or two items that she couldn't find. And she waited for me to help her find them. It was like a game she played, like hide and seek. The store was a Fry's superstore, so it was twice the size of a normal store. And wasn't always easy to find her. It was a long walk from one end to the other, and she wasn't much taller than the cart she was pushing. So if she was stuck in an aisle with other people, it was hard to find her. It was amazing to me at Lou's age, mid-90s, she could still have the energy to be walking around a store like that after an hour. But that was Lou. She wouldn't stop. Most of the time I found her maybe after one or two passes around this large store. But one day after about 4 passes, there was no Lou to be found. I chuckled for a moment and thought, how am I going to tell Pam I lost her mother? But then I came to my senses. She had to be here somewhere. Thought I was going to have her paged. Well, then I remembered she told me that she had a prescription to pick up in the pharmacy, which was all the way in the back of the store. So, okay, I go back there, no Lou. I asked the pharmacist, do you remember filling in a prescription for a Lucille Nash? She said, yes, about an hour ago. I said, you didn't happen to notice which way she went, did you? And then she said, yeah. She pointed to the back corner where the lipstick displays were. Sure enough, Lou had been there the whole hour looking for a certain shade of lipstick. I didn't know there was that many shades of lipstick, but she couldn't find it. Fry's didn't carry it. Okay. I looked at her shopping cart, and the only thing she had in it was her prescription and her little purse with the long strap that she had tied in a knot to the shopping cart. I asked her once why she did that. She said, well, so no one would steal it. Okay, that's a good answer. I said, Lou, you haven't bought any groceries yet? Yes, we can wait till next week. Well, let me see your list. She had 6 items on the list. I said, hey, we're here, let's get it. Lipstick wasn't on it, by the way. And she obviously got sidetracked. So I told her, hey, look, I'll help you get the items. I suggested, hey, why don't you sit down and rest, and I'll go get the items for you. She said, no, I want to go with you. Again, amazing that she still had the energy to keep going. So 10 minutes later, we're ready to check out. The store is starting to get crowded, and the checkout lines are backing up. So, of course, I picked the shortest line. She picks another line. I said, Lou, this is the shorter line. She said, I know, but my friend works the cashier on this line. I want to say hi. Okay, so I get in Lou's line. The line moves very slowly. Lou's talking to the woman in front of us the whole time. Where are you from? Do you like living in Arizona? Do you have children, etc.? Then Lou points to me and says, this is my son-in-law, Terry. And she says to me, the woman, oh, how nice of you to take your mother-in-law shopping. So now it's our turn to check out. And Lou doesn't miss a beat. It's like old home week with the cashier and Lou. How's the family? Have you been on any trips lately? Still playing bridge. Finally I say, Lou, we gotta get out of here. The line's backing up. Okay. So she reaches for her purse, still tied to the cart, and she can't get the strap undone. She must have tied an extra hard knot. So I said, Lou, let me help you. No, I'll get it. And she does, finally, and flops it on the counter. And remember, this is a little tiny purse. And then as she's trying to look for her credit card, she's talking to her clerk friend. Goes through the purse, there's like 10 pockets in his purse, little tiny purse, with zippers. And she unzips them and can't find it, zips them, goes to the next one, she couldn't find her credit card. So finally, she's starting to talk louder. Because now she's getting a little worried that maybe, somebody stole her credit card. And she says to me, she looks at me, she says, you know what, I think somebody got into my apartment and stole my credit card. You know, they've been having problems with some of the employees, you know, stealing from residents lately. They said, Lou, let's don't panic. Let's see if we can find it. Sure enough, I go to the very first pocket where she usually keeps it, and it was there. It was behind the J.C. Penney card. So anyway, as I hand Lou the card, she sheepishly looks at me. Oh, there it is. We pay, and Lou says goodbye to her friend. I wave to the people in line. We are walking out into the car when I say, well, Lou, another routine day at the grocery store, huh? And she looks at me and laughs. That was Lucille Nash, never a dull moment. She could take a routine day at the shopping and turn it into an adventure. And as I look back at the times, all the times that I've been around Lou, I learned she could take whatever life threw her in her way, deal with it, and move on. She told me more than once, looking back on her life, that she had no regrets. Lou Nash, she will be missed but not forgotten. So, any of the grandkids want to say something?
Do Randy and I talk first?
Randy,
Now you're all blurry, but I can see my paper. Well, these are hard acts to follow. 3 daughters and chief son-in-law. So I titled my little talk as Lucille Nash. So, what a privilege it is to celebrate the life of such an interesting, funny, eclectic person and personality. Over the years, Lou made me laugh. She might have made me cry a time or two, but she always entertained. Not that it was her intention necessarily. She just said things and did things that were funny or endearing or silly or now and then actually crazy. But she said them all and did them all. Whenever Lou was in the room, it wasn't going to be without some laughs, maybe a groan or two, but always a laugh, and she would and could entertain us, all of us. My first clear memory of Lou and the Nash family gathered as a family. Claudia and I were dating, young into our dating time. Claudia said, why don't you come to our house for dinner? And as you know, I didn't know it at the time that this wasn't going to be a highlight, but she said, come to our home and have a family meal with us. And I said, okay. So I wasn't aware of Lou's prowess or lack thereof in the kitchen, so I was expecting a family meal, it'd be good, and I'd walk away no longer hungry. But I arrived with my signature bottle of wine, because I went to the liquor store, and we sat around the table, and I wasn't sure if it was they were brought in or they were at the table, but there were little side salads, and then this gigantic bowl of white rice. This bowl was probably this big around, it was piled this high, and it was white. There was nothing else in it except this. Well, when people started dishing the white rice onto their plates, I saw these little tiny slivers of what appeared to be a hot dog. In fact, it was one hot dog, little slivers, probably 4 pounds of white rice, and a little side salad, and that was dinner. And what was so funny is nobody at the table looked surprised, except me. I was on the floor. I was in shock. So yeah, that was dinner. And anyway, Claudia said that from then on, maybe you want to eat something before you come over to dinner. And I did. I always would eat before I came. And I'd pick at something, I'd nibble at it, and I was kind, but anyway, I always ate something before I came. Otherwise, I was going to leave hungry. So, you've heard already about some of Lou's antics and some of the things she did when she shopped. I don't know if I ever really shopped with her. I shopped in a group with her. So yeah, she enjoyed that. But she loved games. She was a gamer, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why Claudia is the ultimate gamer. I mean, if you come over to our house for dinner or anything, we're going to play a game. And Lou is that way. Board games, card games. She was often the life of the party because when we played these games, either unwittingly or knowingly, maybe sometimes by accident, she'd break every rule there was. She'd skirt every rule there was. I mean, she just made up her own rules as she went. But there was one time when we played the game Gestures. Everybody play Gestures, where you act out these cards that you have to pick from. You got a timer, and you've got to pick out cards. And anyway, Lou it was her turn, and there are 4 cards. And I think it might have even been the first card. She puts the little thing down, and the clock starts ticking, and she, wish I could act it. I'll hurt myself if I do. But here's Lou, and she always would do this. You know, she'd kind of wind up and warm up, and then she flat out fell down, hit the floor on her back, and somebody yelled, "Faint." And she said, "Yes," and she jumped back up, and she missed the card just in the nick of time. You can see Lou doing that, right? And then she went to the next card and the next card. And after these cards were played, we always audited her because we didn't trust the words she played. We just knew that she might be playing tricks. So we get the first card, the one that we guessed, but it was a little late. And it wasn't faint, it was paint. So, but she acted out this faint that we peed our pants. And it was too hysterical, but she was great. And then there was a time, I don't know how many years into Claudia and I being married, but Lou attempted to take up the game of tennis. And she would have this serve that sometimes she'd throw it up and she'd, and then she'd serve and then she'd pirouette. It was so distracting that many times she won her serve. I mean, it was the worst serve ever, but she could do it. She'd get it over. It'd barely get over the net, barely get over. And what was really funny is Claudia and I would play doubles with George and Lou now and then. And George was always great. He'd go, "Doug, you play with Lou. Claudia and I'll take you on." So I was Lou's doubles partner on many occasions, and I'm sure we never won. But it's a big memory. It was so hysterical. If you could see her serve, you'd all laugh. I kind of drifted off script here. So anyway, Lou, she did have a little ornery side that I never really saw, but her daughters have told me about it now and then. And I rarely saw it, but we seemed to have this interesting relationship. She never said anything bad about me to my face. Who knows what she said when I wasn't around. But we always had this peaceful detente. She just never said anything bad. We were always very peaceful. And, I loved her. I mean, she just always thought the world of me, which was pretty sweet. But I guess in my closing, I'll just say the nicest thing I can say about her. So I'm grateful to Lou and George because they produced some pretty great girls. And here they sit. Here. One in particular caught my eye and heart early on. We know who that girl is. And I'll be forever grateful for Claudia because Lou is the mother of the woman that I would spend the last 45 years with and have produced a couple of children, Kevin and Brooke, who are here to celebrate, and 5 grandkiddos from those 2 wonderful children. And those grandkiddos and our kids are our greatest joy, our greatest gift, and we'd have none of it if there was no Lou Nash. So I will say, here's to Lou Nash, 99 years and what a life. And if I could sing, which I will probably never be known for, but I've been humming it all day. It's that Kenny Rogers song. You took a fine time to leave us, Lucille. But aren't we lucky that we got to have some Lucille Nash in our lives? So that's what I have to say. Handing it over to
Good thoughts, Doug. So just to tag on a couple of Doug's things. First of all, I, of course, am also most grateful for Lou for having Cynthia. So there would be no Cynthia, no Emily, no Elliot, the rest of our family. So that's kind of my first tag on to Doug. And my second tag on to Doug is at least when you were served the rice, you knew what kind of meat was in there. You were able to identify it as a hot dog, because the first time I ate at Lou and George's house, we were served a type of meat, and I really was wondering, I asked afterwards, Sophia, what was it?
Mystery meat.
It's kind of a gray, brown, something. So she did have issues that. And again, I had a couple of stories I thought of talking, and it would be sort of a repeat, but so I'll try to do a new story. But like Pam mentioned, the lipstick, and what's endearing about Lou to me is she would always give me those big kisses on the cheeks. It's kind of short, kind of look up at me on my cheeks and plant the lips there, and they're always huge. So that was tough. But and with her watercolors, she was very endearing. How I would always, my birthday card, she always sent a birthday card, and it was a hand-painted watercolor that she sent me on her birthday. So just to tell a kind of a different story, so just really the last time I saw Lou outside of V was just a couple years ago. We took her to that Frank Lloyd Wright household, you know, in Scottsdale. It's kind of a tour they give. So we went on a tour, and my job was to push Lou's wheelchair. And I thought, oh, okay. So I pushed Lou along, and it's probably a group of about 15 of us or so. And Lou was just the most animated, asked the most questions, was most interested in what was going on, and asked the tour guide, what about this, what about that? And you know, caught the tour guide when he was making mistakes, and I didn't always think that was true. And it was just an experience, because she'd make sure I had to get her wheelchair in the front. Every time we had to stop, she wanted to be right in the front where she could hear what the guy was saying. It was really not a wheelchair-friendly experience. There was a lot of gravel and rocks. Pushing her over the gravel, and she, instead of getting freaked out, she'd say, bouncy, 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 bouncy. She was so excited. She wanted that again, and we'd get to a ramp and go downhill, and she'd say, go ramp, go faster, go faster. She just had a blast, and was very childlike in her questions and her appreciation. She liked art, she liked architecture, so she used to build houses, so I think she really appreciated being there, and it was just a joy to see her get that, where I thought we were just going to kind of push her along, and she just tailed it. She was really the leader, more friendly than everybody, and that touched me. So she was quite the character, as we all know. She, I guess maybe the memory that sticks in my mind the most is her ability to play and laugh, especially with children. And I remember Emily, our daughter, just so many times when she would get her to just giggle and laugh and have a great time. Play Joey's story, do some kind of game, but that's about the hardest I ever heard Emily giggle or laugh. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll hear from the grandkids now. You have anyone want to speak? Brooke or?
Oldest first.
Oldest first.
And I don't want to follow Kevin. He's always good at these things.
You are too.
I think my fondest memories of my grandma were going to their Palos Verdes house, and it was always just such a magical experience. And when I think back on it, I can remember the smells and the flowers everywhere, and her paintbrushes, and her big Labrador puppy, and we would pick lemons, and it just had this kind of magical secret garden feel. And I remember dragging around that big stuffed animal kitty around the house. There wasn't a whole lot to do there, so I kind of got creative. But yeah, another fond memory was she would tell these stories, and you're probably gonna talk about that too, but we would always just run into her room and jump in her bed, and we were ready for the next story about some random, the elves that would jump out of the cereal boxes at night, and the little people that lived in our attic, and she just had a way of creating an imaginative, just magical experience. And so I thought it was a place where creativity was valued, where magic can exist, where it was beautiful, colorful, full of life and possibility. And I think that's what I felt and still feel from being a part of her life, is just possibility. I take pride in telling people that my grandma was an artist. And I enjoy telling the stories about how she would give the gifts. You know, she gave me a frame at one point, I think I was 10 or 11, and it said, "You're the best mommy." Which was a surprise to me. And one time we were joking back and forth, and she would get so riled up, you know, her energy, and she just lean over and bit me. And I was like, oh, it just kind of surprised me. And then I was looking at the pictures, and I don't know where Elliot is, but I saw she was biting your ear in one of the pictures, so I don't know if that's something she did.
It was a thing. It was a thing.
But I love the randomness, the unexpected, the creativity, and I love that about her, and that's what I hope, you know, trickles down to me in my life. And just knowing that I carry part of her gives me the hope of the unexpected and the possibility that I might create something beautiful too. She created beautiful things, a beautiful life, beautiful paintings, beautiful family, which I'm very proud to be a part of. And I'm thankful for her life.
Yeah.
The magic she created in mine.
Good looking time.
So my grandmom, or grandmommy as I called her, she gave it all, as you've heard, to be entertaining for all of us. So I'm honored here to share a few of my fun memories of her. So maybe, and this is only a memory that I'll be able to share, because a few of our stories have been sort of already stolen. I've had to whittle this down a few times. So this is I know this one will work. So yeah, probably my favorite memory actually with her was when Kristen and I visited her in Como. This was Kristen's first time being introduced to my grandparents, and she went all out. She actually prepared us a real meal. I think it was salmon. What? And it was. She must have really liked.
She really liked you.
She really did. Went all out. So she, and it was a delicious meal, I remember, but on the way there, I had to kind of prepare Kristen, and we went and got some wine, and that was the first thing, because Kristen being from wine country, and she was kind of appalled when I picked out the box of Franzia. That was Lou's choice wine, was Franzia. And so we get there, and of course she sees Kristen, and she gives her a big hug, and me, and then she grabs the box of Franzia, and she's so excited about it. Like, see, But probably the most remarkable thing about that was when she got to the door, and she looked really different than I remember ever seeing her. And it had been a while, but we realized that she had, just that day, in her excitement to meet Kristen, had bought a wig. And so she was wearing this really full, voluminous wig as first impression. I put my wig on. And I'm like, wow, Grandma! And you knew it was like brand new, and it was special because the price tag was still on the side, right over her ear. And so we had to tell her, and she went to the bathroom and removed the price tag, but she still had the wig. And I think even when she failed at things, she went down laughing, and it was fun for everyone. And I found a quote. Marie Osmond said, "If you're going to be able to look back on something and laugh about it, you might as well laugh about it now." And I think that's what she did. We were always laughing with her, but she was like so quick to laugh at herself. And that wasn't the first time Grandma forgot the price tag on things. You had mentioned she would sew. She had a sewing kit that would sew on the stuff, and the Christmas gifts were so epic from her. The memorable ones I'd get these tube socks that were like crazy colors, or women's sweater ones that was a light purple color. And then she would always give me birds and ducks, plastic birds and ducks. So the most memorable was a crane, and it was 8 inches tall, and it had a chipped belly and a missing eye. It was a wonderful. It wasn't the gifts with her; it was the connection that lasted. And she really just wanted to make connections that lasted, and I think that was part of her underlying gift-giving nature. And I've never seen an 80-year-old with so much comedy. I loved her laugh. I loved her scream. She was easy to scare. As George her granddad would bring, would always try to sneak up behind her and give her a scare. And it was just delightful to witness her. And I'll end on what I loved the most was our conversations. Some deep, others silly and ridiculous. They all seemed very easy and hilarious. We could talk about nothing and all and have a lot of fun. And my last conversation was just as delightful. She was so interested in me and getting to know me, even at 99, and interested in what I was doing, my relationships. And she'd always end on a big "I love you, Kev," and it was really heartfelt and meant. And so I'm so thankful that I just am so thankful for her and for the time she lifted me up. And I will always love Grandma.
Okay, we got a couple of the grandkids that want to say anything. Elliot?
I'm not here.
So what I loved most about my grandmother was how playful she could be. And one of my favorite ways she was playful was in the stories that you could tell and make up with her while you were talking to her. So she was also a little hard of hearing in her later years, and so sometimes you'd say a word that she didn't quite hear, like maybe you'd say like, "Oh, I had salmon for dinner last night." She would say, "You ate a sandman for dinner last night?" And then you would say, "No, Grandma, I had salmon." And she would say something like, "Well, I was going to ask, like, where did you find this Sandman?" Say, like, "Oh, I went to the beach, and I found the Sandman, and he was with his other sand family, but he agreed to come with us, and we're very thankful for the food." And she said, "Well, that'd be very nice of him." Like, what was the rest of his sand family like? And you could have, like, if you called her on the phone, this could be the entire conversation. 25 minutes, you called to, like, catch up, or, thought you'd have a conversation about real things in your life, and it would just be about this, like, Sandman and his sand family and what the whole sand world is like. But I think it is just, she was so playful and could be so goofy in a way that could really let you connect with her over that. And it wasn't just in storytelling, but it was also in like filling up her pill box. Emily and I used to go over to her house, and she was very into. She basically lived on vitamins and juju gels, of course, some rice dishes. But mostly, I think it was like gummy worms and juju gels and licorice and vitamins. And you would think like filling up vitamin case would not be terribly exciting, but Emily and I lived to go fill the vitamins. Well, once a week we would go over and take what I'm sure were some like serious heart medication, but also like Centrum and maybe some like vitamin D gummy bears, and like shove them in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday boxes, and we would have so much fun doing it. Which is just to say she could make anything fun. I think it taught me that like I can find joy and laughter in any activity, even if it's a little bit consequential on the surface. So that was my grandma.
Okay, Emily, did you want to say something? Hiding in the corner? Hi, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I was going to tell the same story with the pillboxes. I don't even know what was in there. There were truly an amazing amount of vitamins. But we just had so much fun trying to jam all of these vitamins into this little box. And I remember, I think the candy I remember is those little candy pumpkins. And I loved them. I think they had probably been in our house for years. They were so old, but they were so good. And I think my favorite grandma gift, I wish I had kept them all in the same place, but the one I know I still have is, it's like a flower, like a plastic flower, but then you can open it up and inside there are all these little nail clippers. It's very practical. So, you know, like Elliot said, I think more than anyone I've ever met, she knows how to find laughter in any part of life. We were always laughing with Grandma, so I think that's what I'll remember most.
Okay, that's all the scheduled speeches that we had, so we have time, Cynthia?
Yeah, we have time.
Okay. So any of the other family members or guests have any Lou Nash nuggets they want to share with us?
I have a couple of stories relating to food. The first time, I think Rob and I have been married maybe 5 years or so. We were down in Southern California, and so they were still living in Palos Verdes. So I took them up to the Palos Verdes house, you know, beautiful house, beautiful place to live. We're gonna have dinner. And so again, the tiny little salad with just some lettuce and maybe one cherry tomato. And then we had spaghetti, and it was like, oh God, spaghetti. But Rob is eating the spaghetti, and he pulls it up and he nudges me, and I go, what? It was a dead fly in the spaghetti.
That was the protein.
So I said, Aunt Lucille, there's a dead fly in the spaghetti. She goes, well, there's just one. So fast forward, we moved, she had moved to Scottsdale, or that just north of Scottsdale, in that beautiful home with the view of the mountains. And Rob and I are in town. I think I was on a business meeting, and then Rob came, and I said, oh, we're going to Aunt Lucille and Uncle George's for dinner. And he goes, no. No. And I said, no, I think it'll be okay. And so we get there, I go, well, let's eat a little something. We'll eat something. So we ate a little, like crackers and cheese and some salami that we got at the hotel. And then we went up to see them, and nothing was cooking in the kitchen. So Rob goes, "She doesn't have anything in the kitchen." That's a good sign, right? And I go, yeah. So we ended up going to a little Chinese restaurant. Remember, that was right down the street. So he was so relieved that we were able to do that. So So that's the one story I wanted to tell. The second story I wanted to tell was she came to our house when we lived on Rosemont when we were kids a few times at Christmas. And she was always the center of attention and always so funny and really, it was entertaining, like watching a TV show. So it reminded me like if Phyllis Diller and the Energizer Bunny got married, that would be Aunt Lucille. But the only person that didn't appreciate her energy, unfortunately, was her mother, who would get very irritated at her and would say, "Do you ever shut up? But those, I have many, many more stories. Luckily, I was able to go down and visit her quite a bit, and you know, she was a great aunt. She really
Say something really quickly. I'm going to stand up for Aunt Lucille.
Okay.
And, I love Aunt Lucille. You know, I don't think it's a coincidence that Betty White died this week. And this was her service this week. I mean, she would light up a room. I loved the hell out of Aunt Lucille. She, you know, we all know I had a few issues here and there. She never treated me different. She treated me like, you know what I mean? Like she just would crack jokes with me, and I loved the hell out of her. So, with that being said, oh, one thing I want to mention, the Christmas presents, it added so much fun to Christmas. It's like, we would wait to the end to open Aunt Lucille's. Do you remember, Sue? We wait to the very end. I'll never forget the year. We all got matching jean and lace purses. Do you remember that? You don't remember the matching purses here? Oh, okay. Well, all I gotta say is she just added so much, just so much love in life. So that's it.
All right, anybody else have any little Lou stories that they want to share? Going once? Oh, I know, go.
So I'm Kristen Kirkmeyer Potter, and the Nashes moved up the street from us in 1963 in Palos Verdes, and it was a very close community and very few houses at the time. So quickly, my sister Karen, who's the same age as Claudia and Cynthia, became close friends, and I was always the tag-along little sister that got to go with them. But in junior high, we went to Malaga Cove, so we had to carpool. And we always dreaded the day that Lou drove carpool because we knew we would be late. So, and one of my memories of her is one morning we were all pacing, Scott Borland, and you know, we're all on the corner waiting for her to show up, and she pulls up in the wagon, and we all like, we're panicked because we're gonna be late. We hop in the car and she turns around and she goes, "Sorry I'm late, I couldn't decide what shoes to wear." So it goes along all the stories. Then she proceeds to put both feet up on the dashboard, and she says, "Which color do you like better?" She had on a hot pink tennis shoe and a bright orange tennis shoe. And we all went, doesn't matter, just, you know, go to school. So, I mean, I'll always remember her voice and her laugh. It's so unique. I mean, I can still hear her right now. And, I mean, Karen and I spent a lot of time at their house, so we know all the cooking stories and ate there quite a few times. But she was great. She let us have a clubhouse in their basement. I won't say any more about that club that we had when we were little, but we could spend the night. And they always had, we loved their room. Your mom decorated your room, and because you guys had that partition, and you know, just the house was always so full of color. That's one of the things I remember about your mom. Always the bright colors, and always lots of fun. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
All right, so if anybody wants anything else to say about Lou, you don't have to come up here. You can tell the story right from where you are if you feel more comfortable. Otherwise, mingle. Now, I don't know, what's the plan for tonight? You said that everybody's invited.
Oh, yeah, on the program,
Okay.
there's the address of the
Sora Sushi, which is only about 2.5 miles from here. So if we didn't pick up the purple one,